Biggest snubs. Give me a couple names that stood out to you.
For me, it's Brian Thomas. And it's unbelievable to me that Zay Flowers and Jerry Jeudy made it ahead of Brian Thomas. Brian Thomas has more yards than either of those guys and more touchdowns than those two guys combined. Like, that's the thing about Pro Bowl snubs. So, real quick, when we talk about, oh, this guy got snubbed, I always want to ask, well, who do you take off? Because, they always do this.
You did a good job of framing that in your
and
really good.
And college basketball does this all the time, where if you listen to a lot of analysts, if you add up all the teams that should be in a tournament, it adds up like 170, right? Like, you're like, no. If you're telling me that like Wake Forest needs to be in the tournament, you need to take somebody out. And so we talk about Baker Mayfield being a snub, and I wrote about that even because I think he's having a great year. But do you take out Goff? Do you take out Darnold? Like, I mean, you have Jaden Daniels was the third guy. Who do you take out from there? Well, Brian Thomas, I have two answers. Jerry Jeudy didn't deserve to make it ahead of him. Zay Flowers, I was stunned, made it. He's been really up and down this year. A good player by all means, but Brian Thomas, by far to me, was the biggest snub of any of the Pro Bowlers.
I mean, to me, the biggest snub, so I have to put in my all-pro votes by Monday. And I think that there's this idea of what happened this season, who is the most valuable player, and not letting previous seasons impact how you vote. So I don't believe that because Tyron Smith was a great left tackle for 10 years that he should be on the ballot this year when he has not been one of the best left tackles. But when I look at Patrick Mahomes, who, by the way, you might say, well, Patrick Mahomes, like the Chiefs always struggle more in the regular season than the playoffs. He must not have had Pro Bowls every year. He had 6 straight Pro Bowl berths. This was the first year since he started in the NFL that he didn't make the Pro Bowl. And while I understand that statistically he wasn't Joe Burrow, he wasn't Josh Allen, and he wasn't Lamar Jackson, and so I do think you have such a stacked group of quarterbacks in that conference. And I'm not saying that they shouldn't have made him, but if you told me you could start my team with one of those quarterbacks, are you for sure taking one of those over Patrick Mahomes? And also, I'm not even saying who you want in 2026. I'm saying for this season, who do you want more? I do think that, again, Lamar Jackson, look at the talent he had around him compared to Patrick Mahomes. The other guys I will say were elevating, although Joe Burrow, and again, Joe Burrow's had an incredible year and deserves the accolades he's been getting, but he did have T. Higgins and Jamar Chase there, which is not what Patrick Mahomes was working with in terms of his targets. And so when I look at it, I think that while we shouldn't take past performance into account, we should take current ability to elevate team into account for these awards. And I think Patrick Mahomes can still elevate those teams more. And so it's interesting when you leave him off of that list.
I hear that. I think the toughest part about that is everybody that listens to that clip is going to turn around and be like, oh, you haven't watched. Like, the toughest part of that is that it hasn't looked like easy. And I that's such a cliche way to say that. But like, there's just you watch it and you think, man, I don't know. Like when I watch Baker, every single game, I feel like I watch Baker. I'm like, golly, this is so amazing. And then you watch Patrick Mahomes, you're like, how the hell did he win that game? And there's a testament to being able to win that game. But I also look at it and think, God, without knowing who I would take off in place, maybe Jaden Daniels, I don't know. But like what Baker Mayfield has done this year to me has been really incredible. And I don't know the right way to recognize that.
I was really surprised Jaden Daniels made it.
Really? I think Jaden Daniels is closer to MVP votes than he is to being left off the Pro Bowl. Like, he's done when you look at that Washington team that's going to the playoffs, Jaden Daniels has lifted everybody. That's not a good roster. There's still so much work for them to do. It's one dude who's like put the whole franchise on his shoulders as a rookie and taken them to the playoffs. I thought Jaden was justified, but here, the thing about Baker is, we talked about this on Sunday night, that 39 touchdowns. I was like, wow, he's got 39 touchdowns. Then you start thinking about the Buccaneer season. He hasn't had Chris Godwin for half the season. He didn't have Mike Evans for 5 games? Something like that. Like, it's pretty impressive what Baker's doing. That was a tough vote. Like, I don't think Mahomes, I put Mahomes on the Pro Bowl snub just because it seems weird that a 15-1 Chiefs team with Patrick Mahomes all year, that he didn't make the Pro Bowl, but I can't kick any of those 3 guys out. Like, Lamar's about ready to set the single-season passer rating record. Josh Allen probably is going to win MVP. He's the betting favorite right now. Joe Burrow has had an unbelievable year. I can't kick any of those 3 guys out. Like, those were the 3 right guys. But when you talk about Baker,
if I told you get one quarterback for your franchise, who are you taking right
now? I'm taking Mahomes. And there's no doubt about it. Like, I'd take him over any of those 3 guys. And there's no question. But I think this year, the results have been the results. And I don't think Mahomes has been on the level of those 3 guys. Like, a team record-wise, yeah, sure. No doubt about that. But I think that those were the 3 AFC Pro Bowl quarterbacks, and it's weird that Patrick Mahomes wasn't on there.
Yeah.
But I think it's the right call.